Oh, hello. Say hello to everyone, Moosey boy. Hey? Oh, kisses? Kisses? Hello. Kisses. You say hello to everyone. Hi. This wants to bite me. Hey besties, welcome back to my channel. It is your human Dutchie. And in today's video, I wanted to... Moose? Hey besties, welcome back to my channel. It is your human Dutchie, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing some of my top tips on how to know if you're non-binary or gender fluid, and I guess moreover watch this video if you're questioning your gender identity, because I sure as heck wish I had one of these videos a couple of weeks back. In fact, Kira Graves' video on how she knew they were gender fluid really did help, so I'm going to do my bit and give back and provide you with some hints and tips, and also introspect how I felt in the weeks leading up to realizing that I was gender fluid. Also, before we get into it, can I say a massive thank you for the love and support I've received on all socials lately after coming out as gender fluid. It means the absolute world to me, and it's helped my coming out journey a lot, so thank you. Okay, before we get started, I want to make clear that when I'm referring to non-binary and gender fluid, I'm certainly not referring to them as the same thing, as I am aware that they are separate entities but can be referred to as one another, as non-binary can be the umbrella label for several identities underneath it, which gender fluid is one of those. So for those of you who don't know, gender fluid is an identity that falls under the multi-gender, non-binary and transgender umbrellas. Gender fluid individuals have different gender identities at different times. Some days they can fluctuate between male and female, or don't identify as one fixed gender at all, or both. As you can see, I'm tapping into my femme side today, and I'm absolutely loving it. I made a TikTok on this before, and it's really interesting, but ever since coming out as gender fluid, I feel much more comfortable in my femme presenting self than I ever have before. Like, I always felt very uncomfortable with that, and now I just feel okay with it, and that's kind of nice. Gender fluidity is a gender identity, and this identity may or may not be expressed through mediums such as, but not limited to, clothing, accessories, pronouns, and hairstyles, etc. So yeah, and then obviously there's a difference between gender identity and gender expression, which I have mentioned in my previous video on how I knew I was gender fluid, and that is basically that gender identity is how one feels with oneself and how they identify, and then gender expression is how someone chooses to express their gender. These two do not have to go hand in hand. They can, but they do not have to. For example, someone can be gender fluid and dress a lot more feminine or a lot more masculine, or androgynous, and someone can be cis and dress androgynous. So yeah, they don't always have to correlate, and there's also no one look for a non-binary person. There is no one look for a gender fluid person. Alrighty, now let's cover some signs that you may or may not be non-binary and or gender fluid. Let's travel back in time a bit to childhood. I think this is the most telling section of my life that I really should have introspected earlier, but it gives me sort of the most evidence, I suppose, as to my gender fluidity. So first of all, I never felt cis was the first thing, but I never realized that. But I never felt cis now that I'm looking back. I felt out of place with the girls in school. Like, I always felt out of place. And at the time I thought that was because I was a little bit weird, a little bit different, which I still am and claim. I love being weird, but it was more than that. I always wanted to be picked by the boys for a sports team, always wanted to be on the team with more boys, faster, stronger, fitter, and like, I knew I was faster than the other girls and stronger than the other girls, and that gave me such a thrill, and I loved that. And I didn't want to be girly. I didn't want to do all the girl things that, like, doing our nails at sleepovers. Like, I'd have sleepovers with the girls, but I wouldn't want to do that. I'd rather just like watch a movie or play a video game. On that same narrative, I found myself relating to boys a lot more than I did girls, with attraction, with hanging out, with hobbies, all those sorts of things. And again, I just thought that was me being a tomboy, and like, it was. But this is probably why. Aha, the classic wanting to play dads in mums and dads. Now that was more than just a bisexual thing, which again, it can be for some, but for me, it was obviously not so much gender dysphoria at that point, but that longing, that will to be the dad, that will to be a guy or a man or, yeah, daddy in those situations, which in turn was buried in my subconscious a lot deeper than I was aware. Puberty. Let's talk about puberty. When I started developing boobs, I certainly did not want one, and I was a late bloomer. But even like now, I don't have massive boobs, but they're also not as small as I would like them to be. And yeah, wasn't a fan of that. Getting my period felt very dysphoric. And I guess the first time you get your period is never an amazing time. But yeah, it made me feel very dysphoric. It made me feel different to the boys. Okay, now I have to wear a tampon when I go swimming. I can't like go happily swimming without having to insert something inside of me once a month, you know, like just little things like that I've always felt very dysphoric and annoyed about, that meant that guys don't have to do that. And I was always very jealous of that. I've been so jealous of men and how much easier they have it in terms of body. And you know, like, and that's a societal thing as well. But I've always just wanted to be a guy. And I found myself saying a lot during high school and even like later years, just want to be a guy for a day. I just want to see how that feels. And none of my friends could ever really relate to that when I said it. Like in a jokey way, they'd be like, yeah, like I want to see what it's like to have a penis. But like I genuinely want like a day or a week as a man just to see what it's like. So that was obviously another sign. But yeah, developing features that distinguished my body, well, my child or young adult body from men made me feel really dysphoric. Because before puberty, you're very similar, I guess. Obviously, you have different sex characteristics and reproductive organs, but other than that, you're very similar. Also, never really liked being referred to as a woman or as girly girl, you know, that always made me feel a bit uncomfortable. But I, again, just thought that was because I was a tomboy and I was like, I'm one of the boys, don't call me a girl. Yeah, later, and like especially now, wanting a flat chest for outfit purposes, for gender expression purposes. I posted a TikTok the other day, I'll pop it here, about like wanting to have a flat chest or like not wanting, and I posted another one about not wanting to have my curves and my hips and stuff, because 90% of the time I don't. And then there's days like today where I'm like, hell yeah, femme queen, she's here. But then the rest of the time it's like, I don't want boobs because I want this shirt to look like it would on a guy, and I'm envious of how things look on guys. So damn envious. I've also always been super duper uncomfortable with the gender roles, and like especially pushed within society makes me feel very uncomfortable. But yeah, I've always been very uncomfortable and felt the need to challenge that every way possible. And obviously that came out a lot with me as soon as I could dress myself, as soon as I went to buy my own clothes, challenging those gender norms, going straight to the men's section, buying men's clothes and being like, fuck yeah, like clothes don't have a gender. I'm going to do what I want and I really don't care what you think. And that can again be a confidence thing and just like hating gender norms, hating gender roles, you know. But for me, it was obviously more than that. And it was a very, very strong feeling rather than, oh yeah, I like dude shirts or wear my boyfriend's shirts. Like it was a very strong feeling for me that I always sort of pushed away. Another thing you might relate to is that you find yourself thinking, and again, this is a big bisexual struggle, but for me, it's even more intense being bi and gender fluid, not knowing whether you want to be them or date them. Specifically for me, with guys. I've dated many guys and I've wanted to be many guys, and the distinction between that is so fine and hard to identify. But now, in retrospect, I'm realizing so many times people that I've dated or wanted to date, maybe it was more I wanted to be them, look like them, and attract people through that. Oh, lordy. And obviously I want to make clear that sexuality and gender identity are two completely separate entities. They can interact, but they do not have to, and for some people they don't at all. This bisexual dilemma really focused on non-binary folk and gender fluid folk and men. Lots of that whole crisis of not knowing if I want to be them or be with them. Especially non-binary people, like, oh, I was always so jealous of them, how they looked and how they were able to express themselves. And it was so much more than just, you know, what they wore. It was like a vibe, an aura, and I was always very, very jealous of that and attracted to that, but I never realized it was me probably wanting to be like that more so than wanting to be with them, but also low-key wanting to be with them. Like, Bridget Lundy Payne, if you're watching, I don't know, I just, yeah, I've always been so, like, fascinated is the wrong word, but I've always been so drawn to non-binary people, and yeah, I think that was more than my bisexuality talking, obviously, evidently. So yeah, those were some signs from my childhood through to adulthood that I definitely am looking back on now and realizing that they definitely contributed to and had everything to do with my gender fluidity. I hope you could relate in some way. If you did, please comment down below, or if not, comment something else that made you realize you were non-binary or gender fluid, and your pronouns, because I would love to know. I did mention this previously in my other video, which is this one here, but if you haven't watched that one yet, I'll pop the link in the the description box. But I did talk about my pronouns, and I'm happy with any and all, honestly. Very, very flexible with that. Preferably she, they. I really like those, but yeah, also happy with she, her, he, him. And I had a few of you asking which compliments that I am happy with or most comfortable with, and again, any and all I am totally fine with. No compliments make me feel more comfortable than another. So hope that clears that up. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. I can't wait to chat with all of you in the comments, and I love you all so much. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.